Enjoying secrets of a sugar daddy? How about a little something extra? Here's today's dose of extra sugar with Marcus.
Hey, this is Marcus, and welcome to this segment of Extra Sugar. Okay, we are accepting applications for Sugarpalooza 5, or otherwise known as Shakira-Palooza. Hey, come party with the cast and crew of Secrets of a Sugar Daddy. We've got a private suite for the Shakira concert in Phoenix, Arizona. It's going to be November 6th through the 8th, and that is a package that includes 3 days and 2 nights accommodations, a mixer, a pre-party at my house, a very fun party bus that will take us to and from the concert. Like I said, we've got a private suite to see Shakira in concert. It's going to be a banger, and it includes food and drinks. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then we'll have a brunch the next day, and then everybody's free to either head on home or enjoy Phoenix, Arizona in November. It's going to be fantastic weather, so you might want to stay extra. But anyway, our applications are open. You go to our website, secretsofasugardaddy.com, and you'll see the party tab. And if you click on that, then just fill out the application. Then there's a short video. Send it over, and we will let you know. Now, if you are a Patreon member, and that's our little family group, it's kind of like an OnlyFans for business, so it's a lot of fun. We've got hundreds of members in there. It's free to join. So go to patreon.com/Secrets of a Sugar Daddy podcast. I'll put a link to it at the bottom of this segment, and it's also on our website. It's very easy to find. We want you to join our family. Now, we do have some tiers. They start as little as $10 a month, and it unlocks the entire site. You get everything that's included in the site. And then we also have some tiers that include coaching and profile reviews. And if you want the most success out of sugar dating, you definitely want to take advantage of that. Lily is a magician at helping people with their profiles. We'll do coaching, try to help you through some of these sticky situations or these interesting situations that we find ourselves in sugar dating. But we want you at least to join as a free member, and you will get priority status when it comes to judging for the party. Now, if you are a sugar daddy and you want to attend, we are looking for sponsors. There is a cost. It's free for the sugar babies, except for their travel to and from Phoenix, and some of those actually will be paid for. But get in touch with me at info@secretsofasugardaddy.com, and we'll get you all the information about being a sponsor. All right, so today's segment, I love this subject. I was thinking about this morning. This is kind of an unplanned episode, but I want to talk about the story, The Chinese Farmer. Now, I do have a link to it at our website, and it's always in the back of my mind because I live life differently now. This podcast is called Secrets of a Sugar Daddy, and I think it's important that not only do we talk about sugar dating, but we talk about how to be successful in life. And being successful in life is a mindset. There is so much psychology that goes on in your head on getting your mind set right and correctly so that you can succeed, whether you're a sugar daddy, whether you're a sugar baby, whether you're just a listener and you just want to learn from this podcast. This story, The Chinese Farmer, is always in the back of my mind when things that happen to me seem very fortunate, and then when things happen to me that are unfortunate. So the story goes, there was a Chinese farmer and he had a horse. Well, the horse ran away. And, his friends and his neighbors, they saw that his horse ran away, and they came up to him and said, "Oh my God, we're so sorry that this bad thing happened to you. We're sorry you lost your horse. What a bad thing." And the Chinese farmer responded, "Well, I don't know. Maybe." Well, the next day, that horse came back, and it brought 7 wild stallions with it. And oh my God, the neighbors and the friends were like, "What a fortunate thing happened to you. Not only did you get your horse back, but you got 7 wild stallions with it." And he responded, I don't know, maybe. Could be good, could be bad. Well, the next day, his son was trying to tame one of those wild stallions. He fell off and he broke his leg. And it seemed like such a bad thing. And the friends and the neighbors like, "Oh, I'm so sorry this happened to your son. What a bad thing." And again, the Chinese farmer responded, I don't know. Maybe. Well, the next day, the Army recruiters came by the house to grab his son to join the Army, and they rejected him because he had a broken leg. So all the neighbors are like, how great it is that your son didn't have to go to serve in the Army. And he just kind of laughs and says, I don't know, maybe. The moral of the story is you never know what good things happen to you actually may not be the best thing for you, or maybe some unfortunate things happen and it's actually a really good thing in the long run. The universe is very, very complex, and so we have to look at life in a way of when these doors close, others open. When these unfortunate things happen, maybe there's something better on the other side. And I have a prime example. I've got many examples in my life that this applies to, but in 2004, I'd been working in the restaurant business for over 13 years, and honestly, it was way too many hours, too little pay, but I had a decent salary. You know, I had one of those jobs, those just over broke things where I couldn't really move on because it was sufficient enough to pay all the bills, and I felt stuck. I had a mortgage, I had a car payment, I had obligations. Well, I lost my job. The restaurant company that I was working for was starting to fail, and I was some upper management, so I was one of the first to be cut. Well, again, my friends and family said, oh, I'm so sorry this bad thing happened to you. You know, I'm about to lose my health insurance. I've got all these bills I have to pay. And I said, you know what? It's time to do something different. I enrolled in a crash course, got my real estate license in 2 weeks, and I ended up buying a house, and I used loans from credit cards and some family. I bought this house. My brother came out from Texas. We did all the work ourselves. It was one of those ugly houses. We fixed up everything. It took us about 6 weeks. I put it on the market, and by noon that day that I put it on the market, I had it under contract, and I had gotten a price where I was going to make a profit of $32,000, which I actually did once it closed. So I'm like, wow, 6 weeks of work, and I made $32,000. Now, this was 20-something years ago, and so that was over half of my salary that I was making in the restaurant business. And I thought, you know, I can do this. And not only did I do it, I did it 10 more times that year in 2005. And I went to town and I quintupled my income. So then I look back at that firing from the restaurant job and I think, you know, that unfortunate thing was the best thing that happened to me. And I've never looked back. I'm still in the real estate business. I'm still buying homes, fixing them up, selling them. I've accumulated quite a few now. I've got rentals. I've got Airbnbs. I've got a tech company I'm launching. I don't know if any of this would have come about if I had kept that restaurant job and just kept doing the same old long hours, hard work that I was doing back in 2004. So I'm very, very thankful that I lost my job.
It's a dose of extra sugar with Marcus. Brought to you by
Odyssey celebrates the back-to-school season, brought to you by T-Mobile. You can count on T-Mobile to help you stay connected on America's largest 5G network.
secretsofasugarDaddy.com.
Back to the little story of the Chinese farmer, I have one more example I'll leave with you, and that's how this whole podcast came to being. It came from a very unfortunate experience that I look back on now, and I am so thankful that I had this experience. But I had met a sugar baby, and it turned into a relationship, and we were on and off for 2.5 years, and she had kids. We really got along well. We never fought. She had a great little personality. I always enjoyed being around her. I wasn't sure if she was my person, but I really grew to love the idea of getting married and raising her children. And that's what she was wanting too. And we broke up a couple times just because we weren't 100% aligned in our interests. But finally I gave in. I said, okay, let's do this. Let's work for marriage. I'm all in. But for some reason, that was the beginning of the end, and 3 to 4 months later, it was over. And it was pretty devastating for me because it ended very suddenly. I was on the inside. All of a sudden, I was pushed to the outside, and she had already kind of made plans to move on, and she was taking a different path, and it was devastating for me. I haven't been through a hard breakup like that in a long time. I was married for 16 years, and there was no tears at the end of the marriage. There was no heartbreak. I mean, when that was over, it was over. I was just glad to move on, and I think my ex-wife was too, because we had just grown too far apart and there was just no synergy any longer. But this relationship, I was actually growing into and looking forward to and starting to embrace it. So when it ended, I had sleepless nights. I was losing weight uncontrollably. Now, that is one way to lose weight, but I wouldn't recommend it. I had anxiety. I was a mess. And so what I did to try to control myself and control my emotions is I went to YouTube and I typed in so many things about what I was feeling. And then I started finding all these great YouTube videos with psychotherapists, relationship coaches on how to deal with these feelings, what you're feeling now, what she is feeling, why this happened, what it will look like in the future. And almost by clockwork, things started happening exactly as they said they would. So it was really interesting. My ex did start a podcast and she was trying to branch out with that and had kind of a decent idea. And so a few months later, the dust had settled and we were having sushi and she said, "Hey, you should come on my podcast." And we were just getting caught up. It was not like we weren't trying to get back together or anything. We were just like, "Hey, how's life been for you?" And just getting caught up. I don't know. Maybe this was like a year later after we broke up. Yeah, I think it was over a year. Anyway, I had this really good idea. And I said, you know what? I have a good idea of what maybe would be a good subject or something to talk about. And in my idea, I'm formulating this idea of sugar relationships, a sugar daddy, sugar baby relationship. Because even though it's talked about on YouTube and podcasts, there just wasn't something that was just dedicated directly to it. So I said, listen, I want to go home. I want to process this idea I have, and I want to try to think about it, and I'll get back to you. Well, I never ended up going on her podcast. We went our separate ways. But I had an assistant who I had actually met on Seeking and had an arrangement with at the time. And I said, "Hey, Amy, I want you to find us a studio to record some initial episodes. We need to get a logo." And we ended up going to Fiverr, hired some people on Fiverr. And matter of fact, I hired multiple people, had them design some logos, and we ended up picking the best. I also went on Fiverr and got somebody to do an intro and outro, which are the current ones that you hear. And the podcast was born. So Amy reluctantly decided to become my co-host and help me, even though she was way out of her comfort zone. And in 2021, the podcast was born. And here we are today with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of downloads. We're having multiple parties every year, people coming in from all over the world to come party with the crew and cast of Secrets of a Sugar Daddy. I have a very lovely co-host now who is so popular with all the listeners, and I couldn't be more thankful from where we're at and where we're going. So now I look back on that whole incident that happened where I was anxious and losing weight and sleepless nights and not knowing where to go from this point forward. And I look back at it thinking, that was one of the best things that happened to me, because it pushed me in a direction where I not only had to learn about myself, I had to come out a better version of myself. And Secrets of a Sugar Daddy podcast was born, which I am really enjoying, and I hope you guys are enjoying it too. And we have a lot of great plans going forward. But if you just look at life differently now, when something tragic happens to you or something unfortunate happens to you, know that there's a good reason and that there's something better waiting for you on the other side. It may not happen immediate, but it will happen. I promise you. And if you get into that mindset, I get excited when bad things happen to me. I know that sounds weird, but it's a total mindset. So there was an auction for some houses, and I did not get the house that I wanted because it was an investment property and I was going to fix it up. But I got outbid, and, I spent all that time doing research and profit and loss analysis and cost analysis, and I had it pretty much summed up exactly how I was going to move forward with that project, and I didn't get it. Lo and behold, a few days later, I got an even better deal that I would not have been able to take advantage of because my money would have been tied up at that time and my time would have been tied up. So You just never know when something unfortunate happens to you, when it's actually going to be the best thing for you. I know, just one last little kind of an analogy. You hear all the time where people win the lottery and their friends and family are like, oh my God, how fortunate are you? How great that you just won $100 million or whatever that number might be, right? And then you read stories from these people 5-10 years later, and they says that was the worst thing that ever happened to them because it ripped their families apart. The jealousy and the greediness and the infighting that happened, and it just tore their family apart, and now they're not speaking. The sons and the daughters are not speaking each other, and the family is just ripped apart. And they'll say, I wish I would have never won that money because I've lost way too much by winning the lottery. And that's their family unit. So be careful when really good things happen to you. I'm not saying it's not a great thing and that you shouldn't celebrate, but use that good fortune wisely and look upon your situations when bad things happen in a whole different light, and your life will be completely different. I promise you. Okay, I hope you enjoyed today's segment of Extra Sugar, and as always, look for a new episode every Tuesday. We've got a lot of new and exciting things coming down the pipe, so stay tuned. And if you want to be on the show, we'd love to have you. And of course, join our Patreon at patreon.com/Secrets of a Sugar Daddy Podcast. You'll really enjoy it. There's a lot of benefits there. It's like joining our little family that you'll have access to 24 hours a day. Talk to you soon. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed your Extra Sugar with Marcus. As always, visit our website, secretsofasugardaddy.com, to comment or tell us your story.